Gigi Karmous-Edwards runs Karmous-Edwards Consulting. She has been leading Swan's efforts to build a digital twin on representation for utilities that can help them automate operations and anticipate changes. And Gigi, I'll turn it to you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Let me see if I could actually share just a couple of slides. I was asked by Blue Tech Research at the end of last year to talk about some of the digital trends. And I thought I would share this with all of you. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm Mary and Frank. You know, I've been a longtime supporter of Global Waterworks. I think it's an important avenue for the entire water sector to gather and really learn from each other. So thank you again. So what I really want to talk about today, what are the digital trends? But before we get to that, what are some of the pressures? And many of these, a lot of you have already seen before. You know, climate change is upon us. We're seeing more storm water than ever before. We're seeing drought conditions more so than ever before. And so we really do have this type of pressure on top of us. And I think digital technologies can help with that. COVID has brought a really interesting set of pressures that we have not experienced before in the water sector. You know, when social distance was required and people were trying to work from home, this really required the water sector to remotely monitor and remotely manage our systems. And we found ourselves in the water sector a little bit behind other sectors in terms of being able to do that. So this provided a little bit of a set of pressures that I think is helping the water sector adopt more and more digital technologies. Aging infrastructure, we've all heard about this, and aging workforce. Water quality, as we all know, is very, very important. Where you know, governments are now really putting a lot of pressure on water utilities. I'm sorry, the question or, okay, sorry. And then the other kind of pressure that I think is very, very important for the water sector is we have been operating mostly in a reactive mode of operation, and we need to suggest that we go more to a proactive, and digital technologies can do that. So what are some of the game-changing stimuli? I think cloud and edge computing is key. And the reason for that is because just about 4 years ago, very few utilities felt that the security in place was enough for this critical infrastructure. But more and more utilities are realizing that they can start to use cloud computing and cloud services, which really allows like large simulations, which is very important for digital twin, to use that elastic access to the servers, where if you're on premise, you would have to buy enough servers for the peak usage of compute. So this is a more efficient way of doing it. The second key reason I think cloud computing is important is because it's changed the business models. We now have X as a service, and X could be anything. It could be platform, hardware, software as a service, as most of you know. And that is changing the way utilities can utilize digital technologies and take advantage. And it doesn't require, in some cases, a heavy capital upfront, but more of subscription-based, which allows more of the smaller utilities to get on board with a lot of these digital technologies. And of course, Industry 4.0 is key here. So what are the digital trends? Digitization is one of the key ones. More and more we're digitizing, we're going away from paper, we're using PDFs so that employees across the utilities can access information about every single asset at any place, anytime. That is a very key, trend that we're seeing. Life cycle management, we're looking at assets in a more holistic way. We're looking at from the time it was designed into the infrastructure, what are the parameters and information that we can get from the manufacturers, and then all the work orders that are being done, how can we do preventative maintenance and extend the life cycle every single asset. And of course, digital twins is one of my favorite topics. I think this is a growing area where more and more utilities are starting to really focus on deploying digital twins. AI is definitely being used in all types of areas. BIM, building information modeling. That's something that we're borrowing from the building and architecture sector, but it's becoming a way of processing our asset information. And we're getting a lot of leadership from them from the UK because they have a British mandate to have digital twin for all their critical infrastructure. And then this is really one of the key things for these digital trends to actually happen is changing the culture of innovation. A lot of utilities are really starting to focus on training and making sure that every single employee is part of the innovation culture where failure is somehow, okay and expected, because you want your employees to do more and more experimentation and look at more efficient ways of doing their particular job. So they're part of the culture of innovation. Very quickly, I want to talk about the Swan digital twin architecture because digital twins are not very well understood. But here is an architecture that came out of the Swan working group, which is the working group that I co-founded and co-chair. And this architecture shows that a digital twin is not an entity. It's really a combination of many existing systems and new systems. And really a digital twin is about the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So you can see here, there are many sensing and controls. So there's sensors that are deployed in the physical system, but then you're collecting that data. You have a SCADA system, a GIS system, all of these systems that some utilities have, some don't. But if you do have it, this is part of the creation of a digital twin, is part of the roadmap of getting there. And then one of the key components, and I've circled it in red, a digital twin has a model that is a behavioral model of the actual physical system that you're getting ready to create a digital twin for. And then of course, the insights that can come out from the digital twin is the most holistic type of insights that you can get. And so what that really leads to, all of these benefits down at the bottom, but overall in utilities, greater transparency, greater collaboration, finer details about information, 3D visualization, and the maximum insights you can really get from a physical system. So that is just a brief introduction. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more conversation with Chris in our breakout session. I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you so much, everyone.